This is the England we've all been waiting to watch. 124 in the last 10 overs, 93 of which came in the last 6 overs. 339 is what England have managed. Stokes and Woakes, the star pair that put on a century partnership to pull them out of a hole, and that's what they managed. Fifth ODI 100, first World Cup 100 for Ben Stokes. Cricbuzz played a very, very entertaining innings of 51 or 45. Malan missed out on 100, got out, run out. The bowling there, well, 3 for Bastelide. Aryan Dutt, very expensive in the second half of his performance. Logan van Beek, 2 for 88. A forgettable bowling performance from the Dutch. England have managed to score 339. Firstly, DK, you know what's coming in the future. You called it right in our pre-show. You spoke about Ben Stokes. You're spot on. Hats off, sir.
I think Ben Stokes is a very important player for them. And those are the kind of decisions that you shouldn't regret because the process is right. And I believe that that's the major part of a success over a period of time in any walk of life, if you can get the processes right. And I think Ben Stokes being added to this team is part of that process because when he came in, he got that brilliant 100 against New Zealand, a massive one, 182. And those are the kind of knocks which they expect. It didn't work in the World Cup. That's fine. I think in all fairness, he's got 100 and I'm sure he got a 50 the other day, just couldn't finish things off. It's not completely his fault. And I think the decision, I'll stick to that again. I would want a Ben Stokes in every England team as much as possible.
108 of 84, 6 fours and 6 sixes. The moral of the story is joy. Never question Virat Kohli. Never question Virat Kohli's best friend Ben Stokes.
Yeah, I mean, just look at those numbers. And I think what I enjoyed about the innings is the way he backloaded it. That means they were 192 for 6. He knew they were in trouble. He bided his time. He only hit the bad ball till it came to the 40th over. And if you see the assault, if you see the numbers between 30 and 40 and the numbers between 40 and 50, it tells you he just timed his assault to perfection. Yeah. He knew when to go. Just look at that. You see that number, 3.7. Because at that point in time, they are 4 wickets down, then they've lost 2 more wickets in that period. They're 192 for 6. At the 35.2 overs, I think they lost their 6th wicket. And then, so he bided his time and he said, I can't take this too early because England has gone off too early and lost wickets. And then in the 40th, he just, and this is when England gets it right. When England gets it right, this is how they play. Yes,
he went after Aryan Dutt in that 45th over, and that's when the big shots started to come. When Moeen Ali got out, which was the 6th wicket, I think, all of us thought, hang on, here we go once again. Another low score. Little did we know that Stokes and Woakes had something else up their sleeve.
I know we were in the com box, and as usual, the com box curve.
The Moeen Ali wicket.
35.1 it was, I think, almost the first or second ball after 35th over. And again, a very, very ordinary dismissal. Moeen Ali would be disappointed with that shot, a bit of a nothing shot. Was looking to go over covers and got out. But most importantly, what happened post that, Stokes and Woakes not only synced with their names, but also very rhythmic with what they did. They batted beautifully. They complemented each other. And just like what Joyda said, took time at the start, didn't do anything silly. But around the 39th, 40th over, you got the feeling that they felt that they could press the accelerator considering they had batting behind, a very good partnership. Stokes, we expect him to do that, but Woakes coming good with the bat. He hasn't been great with the bat. I think the previous one game before, he got a good knock as well, a decent knock. But today, he played a knock which England very much needed. A capitulation to about 250, 260 would have been a nightmare sort of a situation for England. So in a way, you can say this partnership has put England in the quest for the Champions Trophy yet again.
Yeah, with the bat at least, Joy, one can safely say that normalcy has been restored. You have Woakes coming in at 8, and we've all spoken about how England bats so deep. But when things come good, this is what they are capable of.
Yeah. Stokes and Woakes are the strokes. Yes. But no, absolutely. I mean, this is the England template.
Yeah.
That keep hitting. It doesn't matter. But see, today Ben Stokes changed the template. Otherwise, at 6 they still keep going. But he said at 6 we can't because 15 overs, if I get out or if Woakes gets out now before the 40th, 41st, then exactly will happen, 250, 260. Yeah. So he waited for a certain amount of time. Though they scored, but as I said, 3.7, it tells you that they're biding their time, they're waiting. And also remember, this is an average attack. See, you have to face it that the Netherlands bowlers are the kind of people who will get wickets when you're trying to hit them. And they can't really put pressure. They're not the kinds who can put too much pressure on you. So, once they cross that period and then they give away a few freebies like Aryan did that full toss. Sometimes, And have you noticed, especially in this World Cup, how one no ball hit immediately sort of precipitates everything, and suddenly you get 12, 13 runs scored, 12 runs scored in 13 runs scored in 2 balls, and then suddenly the game changes. Right? Again, that game changed totally from there.
9 wickets fell, but DK, I don't think any of those were of great deliveries. It was just England going for the shots and then getting out. Perhaps the lesson here for all teams is if you bat deep, bat long. And I remember asking you on Cricbuzz Combox, at what point should Ben Stokes go bang, bang? And you said maybe around the 42nd, 43rd over. He went for it in the 45th, I think. And so, very intelligent innings, this one from Ben Stokes as well.
He was showing intent around the 39th, 40th over, looking for boundaries consistently. But when he really got going in terms of the shots going to boundaries, was a lot more around that stage, 44th, 45th over, like what you said. But what was beautiful in that knock was how many instinctive boundaries they were able to get. Like, if you look at Chris Woakes, the back foot punch that went for a boundary, the flick down the fine leg that went for a boundary, the lap over the keeper. So these are shots which are risk-free and you get boundaries, and then that eases the pressure. And then when you want to press the accelerator, when you decide to play big shots, there's always the risk of getting out because you're playing a shot which in many ways is against the nature of what has been bowled to you because you've pre-decided what you want to do. So you always run the risk of losing your wicket. Yeah. When you play a lot more instinctive shots, then the chances of you playing, getting out is a lot lesser. And that's what they did up to the 42nd, 43rd over mark. But, to be fair, I think till the 40th over mark, after that, they were ready to go for their shots. And it's understandable. It's a very interesting set of 20 overs that they've played between 21 to 40. 83 runs in that phase means it's been a failure in many ways. And they've lost 5 wickets in that phase. So they were completely behind the game. After that, this one partnership has actually taken them to a much better score than a par score, which tells you how good this partnership has been. And it was quite the innings from both those players.
Also, on the broadcast, they showed Ben Stokes' career scoring areas. Now, I think 45 or 47% of his runs have come in front of square on the onside, and he kept getting balls in that arc to go for the big shots.
Yeah, I think so. Firstly, to just add to his point again, 93 in the last 6.
6 years.
That 24 ball over gives you that kickoff. So they were already going, but that just gave them what they call in jets starting the afterburner. They just took off after that and they just went from there. So I think that is one thing that you look at. Secondly, I just looking at his career graph again, exactly that. If you see, there are a couple of 6s straight, there's 1 4 through cover, but all the rest of it, this is the arc he plays in, and he plays that arc so well. And that's the point that it's interesting that, this is Netherlands team is one of the teams who always carries their plans around with them in the pocket. It goes out. But somewhere, you're right, for Stokes at least, those plans, either they didn't bowl according to plan or perhaps the plans didn't work out because I think Stokes really punished them and punished them in his strong areas. He didn't punish them through the offside that much or, too many cuts. So it's all pulling, hitting straight and, hitting in the cow corner area.
We've got to talk about David Malan as well. 87, he looked really good for 100 and then missed out. A silly run out. There was 100 for him.
I feel for David Malan. He's been their best batter in this World Cup so far. The only guy with more than 300 runs. And the way he batted today, the way he started was very impressive. Like how he started in most games. If you do look at this World Cup, he's been a batter who's got to start almost in every game and has got 100 for them. Missed out in a few games, which he'll be disappointed with. But today was yet another game when he showed his strokes on the offside, straight drive, the cover drive, the cuts, and he was batting beautifully. I feel for him because he was set for a big one. To get run out like that is never going to sit well with a batter, and I can completely, empathize with David Malan for missing out on what could have been a massive, massive 100.
He broke onto the international scene sort of late in his career. He's 36 years old, and against an attack like this, you'd expect him to make merry, and he did.
He has always been, remember, if you look at data and, in India, we look a lot at data because you see, he is not really, because this English batting side has been traditionally a batting side of stars. You look at the players out there, you have Bairstow, you have Root, you have, Joss Buttler, you have Ben Stokes. So Malan tends to get hidden out there. But if you see ICC's top batters, he's been consistently among the top 3, top 4, top 5 for a long time in ODI cricket.
He's played about 29-30 ODIs. I think his batting average in ODIs is 57.
Yeah.
It's massive.
So he that's what I'm saying. He's a percentage cricketer, and sometimes these cricketers sort of come under the radar, and then when they start performing, I mean, he's always performed. Where he'll be cursing himself, what Malan does very well is also he slaughters bad attacks. Not when I don't mean bad, but mediocre attacks he slaughters. So he would have looked at himself and said, today was a chance for a daddy 100. Forget a daddy 100, I just had one bad call and I didn't even get 100.
It was a pretty good partnership of 80 odd between Malan and Joe Root. And then Joe Root played a shot that he will want to forget as quickly as possible. A nutmeg clean bowl through his legs. What was it?
It's a shot that he plays a lot, and I don't think any of us should be surprised because he's got a lot of success playing that shot, getting into a position to lap it over the keeper. And he's done it in Test cricket. He's brought that shot from Test cricket into ODI cricket today, and he got a boundary today as well, just over the keeper. So he got into a great position again, but the awkward part was the bowler bowled one that was very difficult to get away with because the middle and leg line, when you're looking to do this, your face is in the way and you tend to panic a bit, and that happened, and that's why you see completely missed the line of the ball, went through his pads. And these are the kind of dismissals as a batter you have to be okay with because you're going to look very ugly. There is no doubt about it.
That's the point.
And that shouldn't change the nature of how you bat, and I'm very, very sure Root will do it the next time he's going to bat as well. So it's a paying shot for him. At times you can get out.
He could just say it's all Glenn Maxwell's fault, Joy.
No, I think what he'll say is what DK has said before. It's process.
Process.
If that shot I get 15 times out of 16, I get it right. I scored this many runs. Once in a while, I'm going to miss it. Yeah. But he said a very important thing because what is he saying the reason he missed it? He didn't miss it because he wasn't in position. He missed it because the ball, he was scared
of it.
Yeah, it
was coming into his body. You're right.
Yeah. So he missed it because he was scared. I mean, somewhere he panicked a bit and his bat went the wrong way.
Well, if he plays this shot in Test cricket, you can't really fault him for playing it in white ball cricket. He plays these shots in the V behind the stumps.
If he's got away with it so many times, it's just that that video will look ugly. That's all. The video, people will look at that video, and in these days of social media, nobody sees how many times he's got it right. They'll just say, "What was he doing?"
Yeah, they're surely going to the bizarrest dismissals of World Cup history clip. I'm sure there is some such clip somewhere on the internet. Another man that came into bat in the 36th over. Now, a number 8 who comes into bat in the 36th, hits a half century. He's a Chris Woakes cannot be a number 8. He's far, far better than that, DK.
He's a great number 8, let's put it that way. He's a very, very impressive number 8 to have in a ODI setup. He has played a few cameos in his time and he's a very good offside player, looks to hit a lot of covers. Today was one where he soaked up pressure initially, made sure the partnership with Stokes was going well, and he's somebody who's shown the world over a period of time that he can produce those sixes when you need it the most. He hit one lovely shot over deep mid-wicket for a 6. And it's been good to watch Chris Woakes come good in the last 3-4 games. England has really needed him. In spite of him bowling well at times, they haven't gone on to win the match, but it's great to see him do well with the bat yet again. A man who is known in England as a banker, and they always require him to come good in these matches.
Butler will feel he missed out, Joy.
Yeah, but before that, just coming back to Chris Woakes. Chris Woakes' batting average is 33 in first-class cricket with 10 hundreds.
Wow.
Okay, so the point of it is these are interesting players because Chris Woakes, he scores at much lower rate in international cricket only because England packs its batsmen.
Yeah.
Okay, in any other team he would be batting higher than that, but that's just the condition. Yeah. England in its glory days from 2015 to now has just had so many batsmen up front. And that's why he doesn't get a chance. But otherwise, somebody hitting 10 first-class centuries, batting at number 8 is something you look at.
Yeah, well, it's a batting card that has a few big performers in Stokes and Woakes and David Malan. Joe Root got 28 as well. Once again, Jos Buttler missing out. He spoke about his batting order coming in at number 6 after Harry Brook, just missing out. He'll really kick himself because this was his opportunity.
Every game is an opportunity in international cricket, and it's not about opportunities with Buttler because he is arguably the best white ball batter England has ever had. It's just about being out of form, things not going well for you, you're losing shape while playing a shot. No matter how much you practice, your head is muddled and the belief is not there when you want to take on the big shots, and it happens to all cricketers. I completely empathize with him. It's not an easy place to be because you're a leader and you have to take some tough calls, and the best part is that when you're trying to take all of those tough calls, it helps if you're scoring runs. At least you're a lot more clear with what you want to do when it comes to others. This is a tough phase for him. I completely get it. It's never good as a player to lose your form in a World Cup, but it's happened in such a way that a key batter and arguably the biggest disappointment in this World Cup would be Jos Buttler. And the beauty is when Buttler bats well, you will see more often than not England will win because he bats at such a critical position 5 which is so important. Yes, today he batted at 6, but at 5 is where he's batted throughout, and he is the one who is literally the fulcrum around which the England batting operates, and for him not to come good has been very hard on Team England, and it's understandable why they've had a poor World Cup, and a majority of what England has done in the last 8 years is thanks to Butler.
Let's now talk about the Netherlands bowling. Before we go to the bowling card, 20 wides. That number will not be visible on that bowling card. But when you bowl 20 wides, we spoke about how they've been so disciplined. They bowl well within themselves. They do the basics right. They stick to the processes. But with the ball, that bit was missing today.
It was missing, but also sometimes what happens is they were over-eager, I felt. And they had England in a tough position. They were over-eager. They were trying to bowl wide. They were trying to tempt them going wide. And they just didn't have that much control. Yeah. And, these things just precipitate. And after a while, I genuinely felt, that, for example, that one slipped ball which went out of Aryan Dutt's hand, that cost them 13 runs. So things like that have happened to them.
Drop catch as well.
Drop catch as well, which is a crucial drop catch. Ben Stokes, right?
Aryan Dutt again.
Yeah, Aryan Dutt again, yes. He hasn't had the best of days.
And your best bowler, as far as economy rates is concerned, has bowled only 7. Colin Ackerman's bowled only 7, gave away 31. Make sense of this graphic for me, DK.
You can understand why Colin Ackerman was brought on. At that stage, Malan and Stokes were there, and then probably Stokes followed it up with Moeen Ali, and he bowled majority then. The moment the right-hander came, they thought that the right option would be Aryan Dutt to stop Stokes and probably get his wicket. Didn't happen. But you can see that Van der Merwe not bowling many overs because the majority of the time a left-hander was at the crease. Colin Ackerman using his Leicestershire skills yet again and doing well. But the fast bowlers were a bit of disappointment. I completely agree with Joyda. I think this was a game where they thought going into bowl, it's a batting order which lacks confidence, and if we get a few wickets up front, we can really run them through. The thought process is right, but the execution was wrong. Even if you see the way they started to a David Malan, the way Logan Van Beek started a couple of wides down the leg, and that's where it all started. They were very eager to get those wickets. They weren't focused on what they're good at, which is to land it in good areas, do some good fielding, pull up the odd brilliant catch, make sure that you don't give away anything easy. They kind of went away from it and searched for wicket-taking balls, gave away many boundaries, and that was not what Netherlands has done so far.
Did they expect England to fall when they were down 6 at 192?
Absolutely. I think they should and they would have, and rightly so. 1 wicket at that stage means they're stopping England less than 250.
Yeah, one catch from Aryan Dutt.
Yeah. And that's the difference, I guess. So they were, in a way, it was right and they almost got it done. But the moment that partnership came around the 45th over, when that switch flicked, I think things just went completely wrong. And you can see the scoreboard reflects that 90 runs in the last 6 tells you a story on its own.
England will expect to win this game, but for Netherlands, there are a lot of these lesser known, lesser fancied players. They hardly get talked about, written about. What's coming up in December, on the 19th of December, will be the IPL auction, Joy. I'm sure talent scouts across India are watching. Who are the names that you think they look at, especially from a newer team like Netherlands?
Yeah, so look, IPL auctions are a huge thing and there's so much to discuss. So I'll just, at this point, I'm staying with associate nations and the kind of players who are there. And these were some of the players I thought would, we are not even talking about people like Rachit Ravindra who are sure shot picks. These are some of the players that we're looking at who are in some ways, the players who are going to do well. And the reason I've gone with them is for a very specific reason. Like, for example, if you take somebody like an Aryan Dutt can bowl up front, okay? He can bowl in various positions. And what is going to happen is, you look at that, 5 matches, 4 wickets, average of 24, strike rate, and don't even judge him by this economy rate or the number of matches he plays. Any bowler who can bowl up front and bowl at the back is useful for them. So Aryan Dutt is very useful for them. Again, you look at his teammate Bas de Leede, he's also somebody who they'll be looking at. Bas de Leede is somebody definitely who they'll consider to be a prospect. And again, why? Complete cricketer, does everything. He bats, he bowls, he gives you somewhere in the middle. The strike rate is decent, but 33 wickets, and Bas de Leede is a streaky cricketer. Okay, he gets wickets, he keeps moving. And just moving on one by one to the rest of the players, there's quite a list of players out there, and most of them have been chosen from associates, because what we are trying to do out here is trying to look at who not just the IPL team looks at, but everybody looks at. And what I mean by that is, why are we looking at players like this now? And you're absolutely right, there are 10 test playing teams where you're going to have better teams. Yeah. But what is happening now is, a lot of the IPL teams own franchises everywhere. They own CPL franchises, they own South Africa League franchises, they own in the Abu Dhabi League franchises, ILT20 franchises. Now, what they're trying to do now is, especially for the rest, get together a set of players who play everywhere, are used to the system. So, suppose MI wants Basti lead. MI will say, Basti lead, why do you play for us in South Africa? You might play, or in Abu Dhabi, you might play for us again in America. And you are used to the MI system. I know you as a player. My coach knows what you can do. And that's where a lot of people become important, because especially in Abu Dhabi, associate players, you have to take a couple of associate players.
Yeah.
So when you're going to pick that guy, you might even say he might not even make the squad in MI, but you might turn around and say, Ki, let him come out here, train with the rest of the team and get a part of, get to be a part of this.
Well,
So those are the kind of ways in which I think teams are going to look at it. So some of these guys just might get picked up at the auction, though they might not make first 11s necessarily, but they are the fringe players who are going to be very useful for these teams in the remaining franchises.
DK, it may make sense, a lot of sense for teams that have spent big bucks on the bigger names who may not be performing well. Let them go, get these players for a fraction of that cost. It would make a lot of business sense as well, and cricketing sense too.
Understand the logic is correct. You got to understand a couple of things. In IPL, you can only have 8 players, and most of the team will hold on to a majority of their players for various reasons. It's coming to an end of the cycle, so you don't need to take big decisions. Most teams have done okay. It's only the teams which have come in the last 4 or 5 will think about really revamping their structure. Now, the teams that look for, say, an all-rounder will be looking for the likes of Bastalide, or if they're looking for an off-spinner who can bowl, Aryan Dutt probably. I understand that. But I like what he said before. Suppose some team earmarks, say, an Aryan Dutt. Instead of straight away bringing him into the IPL setup, they'll probably put him in one of the teams that they have in ILT20 CPL, and they'll see how he goes, how he reacts to pressure, and how he's able to understand franchisee cricket, etc. And if they feel that he's a good fit on the field and off the field, which is a very important aspect of how they are, then they'll blood him into the IPL when things come right. Because at the end of the day, more often than not, these kind of players will be very budget picks, and it's good to have a few names like these. At the back end of the auction, you would have picked many players that you wanted, but certain players you can't pick because of the amount of money left in your kitty. And then these are the kind of picks that you'll think, wow, he makes sense, makes value, been part of my team, heard good things about him, let's go for him.
Joy has headed content at sports channels, and I'm sure when he makes budgets, there is something called a provisional budget item. Is Rachin Ravindra one massive item among the bigger nations? Is that the man that gets the big bucks at the auction?
I think he's one of the people who will definitely get big bucks. And the reason is also he plays spin well, which is really important, because sometimes a lot of the all-rounders who come to our part of the world, if they don't play spin well, you can be a gun all-rounder. But if you don't play spin well, playing in April and May in India, you're not going to get too many runs. Yeah. So it's important for you to have those skills. And he bowls a bit. I don't think his bowling is quite up there for T20 cricketers yet. But again, he's 22, 23 years old. They'll work on him. Yeah. I think he's going to be a big item, definitely. Also, what happens? Suppose you pick him this year. He does well. He does really well. Okay. Next year, you retain him. And that is the big game. The big game now is what happens next is important. But am I getting players who I want to retain for the next? Because everyone is thinking, who are the 3 or 4 players I want to retain post 2023?
Well, a lot of big decisions will be made. Rachin Ravindra is considered the breakout star of this World Cup, hasn't he?
I would like to think so. I think he's had a phenomenal World Cup. And why not? I think he will be a name that will be much sought after in this IPL auction. It will be a very interesting day on December 19th.
340 to chase for the Netherlands IPL auction later. For now, all the focus of these players is on this big World Cup in India. Netherlands, can they score 340? Looks difficult, never say never. And that's the lesson that we've learned from teams like Afghanistan and Netherlands. Runs haven't come easily at the top. They brought in Wesley Baresi. The last game, Vikramjit Singh was replaced. But the one name that has impressed everyone is Sijbrand Engelbrecht. What do you make of his performances in this World Cup so far? He's been very, very good for Netherlands.
Very effective batter. If you do look at the set of Netherlands batters, you would probably not put him as the most talented, but very effective. Runs well between wickets, a decent player of spin. In fact, a very good player of spin. As you can see, the strike rate suggests that he's not a very hard-hitting player, but someone who can really be very good under pressure. I think Engelbrecht and Scott Edwards have been very good in this tournament so far. The last match as well, he got a good 50 and was looking good till he got run out unluckily against Afghanistan. So he's somebody who you can see has a good future for Netherlands. For me, the key aspect that I really liked about Engelbrecht is his willingness to fight in the middle. A lot of times he was under pressure as a batter, but he's found a way to show the skill that is required at that level to fight it out and make sure those, that spell of a bowler who's bowling well is just seen off, and that is a very important skill from an associate nation.
Of the 5 bowlers that England have, there's Moeen Ali, there's Adil Rashid, and he plays spin really well, Engelbrecht.
Yeah, and Engelbrecht, a fascinating character. South Africa under 19 stars. Then he gets signed up by the Cape Cobras. He was in franchise. So, in fact, I was remembering, why was this name striking me? In 2014, he was in India in the Champions League playing T20 for the Cape Cobras. Okay, and he spent a long time there, and then he realized that for 2016-17 that there's no chance for a South Africa career is perhaps behind him if you have not made it in those 6-7 years. So he goes and does a business management degree, does a project management degree, suddenly decides that he's going to give up all this cricket and go away. Goes to Netherlands, becomes a successful, running his own business, doing successfully, and then rediscovers cricket through the club game again. So it's a really nice story. So it's like as we say, some of these small teams are like second chance teams. You wanted to play for South Africa, you dreamt of playing international cricket, and he must have thought in 16-17 it's over. And then he goes away, starts studying, goes and does something else, and then 7 years later he's playing a World Cup in India with the biggest crowds in the world, and he's going out there and he's a top batter for their team. That is such a story.
Yeah, this is his chance to do something special. Can Netherlands push England? They've got a mountain to chase, 340. Chris Woakes among the runs today, but he's been improving with each game with the ball as well. Had a horror start to the World Cup, but his numbers in the last 2 games tell you that Chris Woakes, the bowler, is also now finally feeling a bit relaxed. Take a look at that. The last 2 matches, terrific economy. There are wickets as well. Good average. Everything's going well.
That's the Chris Woakes that England knows.
Yeah.
He's been the banker. He's been consistent, great with the new ball, can just chip in a bit with the old ball. But most importantly, can get you early wickets and very, very economical at that. And that is what the captains are used to. He's got them into a bad habit, but initially it was hard for them. He was going for runs, just not landing well, didn't get the rhythm, probably trying a bit too hard. Now he's put all that back. The last 2 games he's been wonderful. Yes, the results have not gone for England their way, but have to say, Chris Woakes has been someone that again has become a bowler whom the captain can rely upon.
Yes.
Did you have him at KKR? Or was he just before and after?
Just before and after.
He was just before and just after.
He's found his rhythm, but England will clearly go for the kill. They've got to make a statement. Things are not going right. The air around England cricket is not good at this stage. They all know big changes will be made, but a win here will perhaps soothe those scars a little bit. A big win here.
A big win here would be good. But see, I think what England will do is that they know it's up to Netherlands to do the running. All England needs to do, and this is one thing that we've just about, as DK was saying, that Netherlands tried too hard. Sometimes you try too hard. Just keep the ball in the right places. Don't try and bowl too many wicket-taking deliveries. The pressure of the target, of a target that big, will automatically get you wickets. At 337, 338, 390, that level of. By the way, congratulations for getting it right.
I'm spending too much time with DK. He always gets it right.
Absolutely, but that's the point. The pressure of that large score is more useful. Bowl in the areas, the wickets will come.
If the ECB is looking at the future, Gus Atkinson has played, I think, 4 or 5 ODIs. It's a great audition opportunity for him as well. If he's going to be part of their white ball future after a lot of wholesale changes will be made, Gus Atkinson, a chance for him?
Oh, for sure. I think he is probably the bowler that they're looking for after Wood, and very similar lines, can bowl 145 clicks and hits a good length. Has that uncanny knack of taking the ball away. Did very well for Oval Invincibles in the 100. Did very well for Surrey. Have a feeling he'll be on the trip to India as well for the test matches. So he's quite the bowler, and they have earmarked him as a special talent for sure.
Baresi, Maxwell Dowd, Ackerman, Engelbrecht, Scott Edwards. It's up to these 5 mainly. There's Bastilleed as well, and there is Teja Nidhamanuru who came into the 11. Quick prediction, 10 over score before we wrap up.
Well, I think they'll go for it. I don't know how long they will keep going, but 61 for me.
Okay.
55.
32.
Ooh,
England on a high. Hopefully, no, possibly, not hopefully, but possibly an early finish. Unless Netherlands can surprise all of us like Afghanistan have in the past, they need to look back at the day they beat South Africa. Although in that match, they were defending, but this is their chance. They need to chase down 340. We're done with Cricbuzz Live for now. We'll see you on Cricbuzz Combox after 15 overs. Bye for now.